Welcome to the Labyrinth. My guest today is Elston Menezes. He's an entrepreneur. He's the co-founder of B.E Hemp, a company that sells hemp products online. He's also on a mission to change people's mentality around hemp and cannabis. Elston, welcome to the Labyrinth.
Good to be here, Pratham. Looking forward, man.
So tell me a little bit about yourself. What do you do for a living? What do you do for fun?
So, I do a lot of things, or I used to do a lot of things for a living. One of the mainstays that I would say that I had was my skill in content writing. Yeah, which is like a snowball effect, I would say, because I started off as an English editor, and then I started doing subtitling. Then eventually, from subtitling, I started doing content. Then from content, I started doing QCs, and eventually just started moving up the ladder, and that's it. So, by profession, I would say that I'm a full-time content writer and editor, and unfortunately, at this point of time, since COVID hit, I think the whole freelance market has gone to crap. So basically, I do content for our own site and everything at this point of time. And also, just because COVID hit, I think one of the major skills I picked up was graphic designing and visual communication, because it came out of necessity more than anything. You know, we are a small company, so we tend to bootstrap always. So you have to find creative ways of actually getting your message out there without actually spending any money. And for that to happen, you would have to do the work yourself. And art is my passion, and I think graphic designing kind of bridges this gap between content also for me at the same time. But uh, like I said, I've taken a lot of roles in my time, everything from voice acting to even a little bit of acting, like actual acting here and there. You know, nothing major, just very small gigs like Manipal Hospital and stuff like that. Nothing you would find on the web, because it's all internal stuff. You know, maybe they didn't want to use me for their external stuff, but it's okay. It's all right. Like, it was just an experience for me. You know, along with that, I think the only job which I did different over the past, like, let's say, I think 12, 13 years now, is my first job was basically me doing, it was me being a business development manager, okay, for a small startup at that point of time. But again, it was a startup 13 years back. So we are talking about, if I'm the business development manager, I am also the salesman. I am also the person who will be doing the cold calling. I will be also helping out with the website, and I'll also be the final person closing the deal. So it's actually from that moment I realized that I really love entrepreneurship. You know, because we never really gave it a second thought in college as such. We went to commerce college. As you know, my friend Joel Montero is also there. We all grew up together. He studied with me in St. Joseph's, and he'll tell you the same thing about commerce in college, which is the same thing you get, which gets repeated over the course of, like, I mean, when you've done your 11th and 12th, it's just like another 3 years of the same thing. You don't really learn much. And I've actually seen that doing a job as such has taught me a lot more, and it's given me and opened up my mind to me working outside the commerce field also. But as you can see, I've been roped back in again through hemp in that sense.
Okay. So you're a BCom student, right?
BBM. So at
BBM.
that point of time, Joseph's, there was BBM. I think now they've changed it to BBA, or they've removed it completely and just made BCom itself. It's the same thing. It's just that BCom is more finance oriented, whereas BBM was more management and entrepreneurship oriented. It didn't make a difference, though, like I said, because no one was listening in class at that point of time.
Same here, man. I did BCom and Aloysius here in Mangalore. It's the same story. I mean,
Oh,
we went to class, we learned something, we forgot it, and then we got a job, and we never used what we studied in college. That is the same
exactly.
situation everywhere.
I mean, where would I be using content? I mean, we never learned anything about content, unfortunately, in college. And at that point of time, social media was also in its infancies. So there was nothing about like how social media would be leveraged for businesses these days, you know. And one of the major roles I play in our company is also being the social media manager. So we had to learn everything by ourselves. There's no one to guide us. It's just that if you want to do it, if you want to do something, you will always find a way to do it. You know, like I was never big on social media. Facebook was only used for keeping in touch with friends and stuff. Then eventually, when the whole business platform started coming out, we started looking at it as a very big opportunity for us as such to reach people, you know, because you can't just go along the road screaming like hemp is awesome and stuff like that. They'll put you in jail. But if you can reach a very wide audience through social media, and that's something we always look forward to. But as you know, that social media like Facebook and Instagram tends to keep companies like us down, only because they are also kind of not clear on what the rules are as such when it comes to advertising. You know, so we've always faced trouble. We've always got our posts taken down. Our Facebook page also got taken down. But Instagram, for some reason, is still running, and we're still going strong. Luckily, at least at this point of time, touch wood. Yeah, and hopefully it remains like that. We start growing even more because I've already had like I already have 2-3 backup pages also made just in case, and that's that's the kind of caution you have to take when you're in the hemp industry and running a business and stuff. You know, you need to find a way for your customers to reach you if they don't have your phone and if they're only used to ordering from you from Instagram as such.
Yeah, recently, in the past few months on Instagram, on YouTube, a lot of pages are getting censored, and many companies are now, not just many companies, many people who have controversial opinions, they move to something like Telegram. Are you thinking of moving to Telegram or creating backup somewhere else?
So we have been looking at other options also. Telegram has always been on our mind, but at the moment, the kind of influx we get on Instagram, right, so it tends to be a little too much right now. You know, so although we do have it at the back of our mind, our whole idea of working is that okay, we'll see when it shuts down. We'll decide what to do at that point of time, because it wouldn't be hard to leverage our customers because we have all their info. We know them. We know a lot of them personally. They've been the same people who've been ordering from us from the past like 7-8 years almost now. So getting them back on our platform wouldn't be hard. It'll be a bit of a shock for them if they one day open Instagram and be like, where's B Hemp gone? But we'll find a way to always tell them that yeah, okay, fine. B Hemp is now done with all of the metaverse and everything. We're moving to other more open-minded platforms instead.
Okay. Okay, earlier you said that you had, gone with Joel, our common friend, to Joseph's, and prior to that, you were an NRI. I think you're from Kuwait, right, or Bahrain?
So born and
Kuwait.
brought up in Kuwait, and been there for about a good 17 years of my life. So I think Kuwait is also kind of responsible for the person I've become today, in a good way and a bad way. I would say that because in Kuwait we never really got the chance to explore anything else outside the science or the commerce stream. Like I love science, yeah, but Kuwait has a very Americanized culture. So it's very weird because we are Indians. We are born and brought up in Kuwait, and Kuwait tends to go towards the more American side of things, if you know what I mean. You know, like the Gulf countries tend to follow US, and all the serials we used to get, all the TV shows, all the food products, everything which we had in Kuwait was all Americanized. Yeah, so I think we all had an identity crisis a little bit, like growing up in Kuwait, because like your parents will tell you don't go and play with the Arabs, don't mingle with them. Okay, but we'd always, you want to play football, you'll find a way to play, and it's mostly the Arabs who are playing football at that point of time. Everyone else is playing cricket. So uh, growing up in Kuwait, like I said, we didn't have a choice between what is that, arts, science, and commerce. It was just science or commerce. There was no such thing as arts at all within our school. So for us, it was never an option. Even when we did go for job counseling to our teachers and asking them, okay, fine, what can we do after we've taken commerce? their only answer was that you have to take commerce, you have to do BBM or BCom. They've never, I mean, as kids, it didn't strike us also that we could move out of this whole box which they placed us in. We always thought that this is it, this is how much we are, this is all we'll be, get job in bank, go work, come back, eat food, sleep. That's all. And honestly, once we did come to India, we realized that the scope is so much. Forget about commerce. I'm just talking from the arts perspective. Because for me, I was very artistically inclined in Kuwait also. It's just that I didn't get to explore it at that point of time. And once I came to India, it's just like, oh shit, I can do everything. So I started finding ways of like integrating art into everything I do. So in some form or the other, I started drawing, I started painting, we started doing stalls, I started making handicrafts. So wherever I could, I was putting my hand in art and just experimenting, because we never got the chance at that point of time. It's like you when you keep an animal caged up for a long time, and then you just suddenly set them free, right? And they discover like, wow, this is so much of a world outside just this little box that we've been always in. So I'm grateful in a way to Kuwait, because I feel like maybe if I did take arts at that point of time, I wouldn't have valued it as much as I do right now, and I'm grateful for that. And also, what's that? It's a place we grew up. It's our whole way of being also comes from there. Even though we are very much Indianized now at this point of time, we still owe Kuwait a lot in the sense of our mannerisms, our behavior, the way we were brought up, at least over there. Because we were brought up to be, like I said, we were brought up to be Indians in a Kuwaiti society with an American mindset, which is very confusing for little kids. And eventually you come to India and you realize that, wow, okay, fine. Like, I don't want to do commerce, but you know how Indian parents are. It's going to be like, shut up and do your, do it. Don't stop now. Why you want to quit it? And it's not about quitting. It's just about like, okay, fine. I've realized that I'm good at something. Like, I'm naturally gifted at something. Why will I go for something else? Yeah, but parents are parents. You can't. At that point of time, you argue with them. Then your money supply gets cut out. Then you can't do anything, and you just get stuck. So it's like your hostage. I mean, your dreams get held hostage for a little while. But once you move out of the college, once you start getting your own life together, your own job and everything, you start discovering even more. And I'm really grateful to India for that, and which is why I haven't ever thought of going back to Kuwait also.
When did you get started with B.E Hemp?
So we call it B.E Hemp. Yeah, it started between my cousin brother and I as partners. Okay, my cousin brother's name is Denson, and as you know, my name is Elston. So like our whole thing was we want India to come to terms with what cannabis slash hemp actually is, and we discovered early on that like there was a lot of misconceptions, there was a lot of propaganda, and in our mind, we felt like since everyone we asked, like, dude, what do you think about this? Like, what do you think about hemp? What do you think about cannabis? Like, do you think like we can start making it legal here in some form or the other? Pretty much everyone was just closed off to the idea that no, yeah, like I can't do this. My parents will kill me, okay, or I can't do this. Society will think of me like this. Yeah, and there was a lot of stigma attached to it. And we started it around 2011 on Facebook. Yeah, as just an infotainment slash information page where you can where we spoke about cannabis, where we shared all sorts of what do you say, informational posts, all sorts of memes, everything, whatever we could get our hands on cannabis, whether it was research papers also, we would share everything. And our whole perspective and also our name comes from the fact that we want to make sure that we can hemp India, in a way. It's kind of a pun also, like help India, hemp India. So in a way, we want India to be hemp at the end of the day, because cannabis comes from this country. Cannabis is indigenous to India, and we are just demonizing a plant, which seems very silly in that sense, And so around 2011, we'd started on Facebook, and we'd gotten really, really good responses from people. We started seeing that people were not actually, people were more curious than criticizing us. They were more curious than they were critical of us. And so we realized that, okay, fine, you know what, people are a little more open-minded, at least in Bangalore, from what we've seen. People have an open mindset in Bangalore just because of the melting pot that it is. And what we've seen is that since people are asking us about hemp, they are also asking us, okay, do you have anything from hemp? And at that point of time, you'd be like, no, we don't. We don't have any products. We're just here to spread the word, spread the knowledge, let people know about cannabis. And eventually we got to the point where we're like, we have to get products. Like, we have to get a few products because it makes our case a little stronger. You can talk forever about something, but unless you have something tangible in hand, it doesn't make sense. So we started getting products down from Himachal and Nepal and showing very small products in the start, like wallets, dream catchers, bands, ankle bands, chappals, all made from hemp. And we started showing people like, yeah, see, this is cannabis. This is what we're talking about. Okay, like, let's say this is cannabis. Like, we're talking about our soaps. Everything is made in cannabis. Okay, sorry. So you start showing people that, like, okay, you know what, this is made from cannabis. Okay, everything about it is made from cannabis. So nothing about it is going to get you high. You try it, dude. You're just wasting your money and your breath at that point of time. So people, we noticed that we started getting a really good response, and so we started taking it forward. And I think it's about around maybe 2014 or so is when we actually registered our company, because right up till then we were also not sure of what to do. Whether we should take this forward, whether we should still keep it at entertainment page, or whether we should make it a full-fledged business. But we started it off as a full-fledged business then in 2014 and realized that, okay, fine, this is crazy, dude. Like, we can do so much around this, because at that point of time, the flea market scene in Bangalore was insane. Like, you had Quiche Mandi, you had Soul Sante, you had so many other organic flea markets which are coming up, yoga flea markets which are coming up, and everything to do with our idea, like, a healthy lifestyle, which is good for the environment also at the same time. And that's when it really hit off for us. And then we started deciding to make rolling papers, which was a great idea, but also kind of a downfall for Facebook, I think, at the end. Because rolling papers is a very high, what do you say, high margin business in that sense. You buy low, you sell high. But what do you say, Facebook was allowing it for a while. They were allowing us to actually advertise not only our rolling papers, we were making notebooks and everything also at that point of time. But I think we put one small paid ad out for rolling papers, and after that we got blocked, and then we got banned, and then we got what do you say, our reach started diminishing. Like, we had 13K followers. Like, within the first 4 months of us starting B.E Hemp India, like in 2011-12, when we started B.E Hemp India, we started off in no one, but within 3 or 4 months, we started jumping up to 13K plus followers. But after Facebook limited us is when the real problem started happening, because then we had to find ways of actually doing it, because we didn't have money for a website. We were not website developers or anything like that. And we had to make sure that there's an influx of cash coming in somehow or the other for us to be sustainable. But like I said, it's Facebook. Like, we would really highly depending on social media at that point of time to make our bread and butter, which is why I'd get back into content editing, which is why I'd get back into freelance, like subtitling and writing and proofreading and everything at those points of time. But even though that happened, our mission never stopped. Like, whether we were making money or not making money, our mission never stopped. Our mission was always to make India know about hemp and be hemp, basically, at the end. So I know it's a very long U-turn back to your question, but that's kind of the way the name B.E Hemp came about.
Your Facebook page got censored because you put an ad about selling smoking paper, which is completely legal. But let's say in the future, cannabis gets legalized completely for medicinal and recreational basis. Will you be selling cannabis as well?
When it becomes legal, yes, definitely, man. Like, we don't look at it as anything that's like harmful than what is already there on the market, like tobacco and alcohol. It's a lot less harmful than those two products. So we'd rather push for something which is a little more safer and a little more healthier, and which no one has died from so far until now. Like we would definitely like that. That was the main aim, and that is still the main aim, to make sure that it gets to a point in India where you have medical medical is already happening. So like it feels like our steps are already going. Like medical is already happening, and eventually recreational will also come into the market. There is already recreational use in the form of bhang in India. It's just that smoking cannabis as such is looked more as I mean, it's looked down upon in the sense that it has that stigma of like only, as bad as it sounds, like only villagers smoke cannabis, or only ganjadis and nasheris and all of these people smoke cannabis. Only people who are drug addicts as such do this stuff, Whereas half the world has legalized it, and they're making like billions and billions of revenue from it. So our main aim is to make sure that also happens. And we really look forward to that day, because then that day we can just put our rolling papers without worrying about Facebook banning us and shutting us down again.
Yeah. What do you think
I mean,
what do you think about the mentality of people around you when you say that you're in hemp business, or when you say that
so
you're talking about cannabis?
so I feel that it's changed a lot over the years. When we started out, we didn't, like I said, we didn't have any negative reactions as such. We've done it online, and we've done offline events also, where we've not really received like negative reactions as such, except for maybe one person in the past 15 years. We just had maybe one person come up to our stall and just throw propaganda at us, in the sense that like, oh, what you guys are doing is wrong and all that. And we're like, we'd ask them also, okay, fine, could you elaborate? Could you let us know like what are we doing wrong? Like, what is wrong in making a soap out of hemp, or what is wrong in making notebooks out of hemp, or rolling paper, or whatever? And his whole thing was just, I think he just wanted to let off steam that day. Maybe he was very frustrated or something with some reason. So he'd come up to us, and he was just going on about like how his friends died from a cannabis overdose, and we were like, wow, like, I mean, please let us know, like, this will be the first recorded death ever, like, from cannabis and stuff like that. But he was adamant. He was an older gentleman also, maybe around the age of like 65, 70. And the irony was that he was holding like a full glass of whiskey in his hand, and he was just swaying and talking to us. So we knew that we're not going to like win this argument. There's that whole thing of like, you can't argue with stupid, right? Like at the end of the day, like, no offense to that guy, but I'm sure he wasn't thinking straight at that point of time. But other than him, we've never received any negative reactions as such. People approach us more from a curiosity point of view than from a critical point of view, because I feel that people in their heart of hearts kind of know that there's actually nothing wrong. And when they do search themselves and see from where they're getting these answers, right, they realize that they haven't actually done any research on it. And when we put forward points, and we put forward research papers and everything towards people, that really changes their mentality, and that kind of opens up their mind also towards like, oh shit, we've been lied to. Like, what else have we been lied about? And I think we spoiled a lot of, I would say, spoiled a lot of lives in that way, because people's minds get opened, and then they realize that, okay, fine, we can't take everything at face value. Like, we have to do our own individual research also. So we've seen really good reactions over the years. When we were doing physical stalls and physical events and stuff like that, we've seen people who'd come to our stall asking us for ganja or pot or anything in some form or the other, and they would not get it. They would instead leave with like a soap or a notebook or something, and they'll be happy. And the next time when they come around, they don't ask for pot, they ask us for hemp itself. So over the years, we started seeing that, like, okay, fine, the amount of people asking us for pot has decreased like substantially. Now people know what we're doing. Like, we're talking about hemp, people know what we're doing. I'm saying that substantially it's increased, but it's not that it still doesn't happen. It still happens. Like,
has it been easy, and is it worth it being an entrepreneur today?
I don't think do I feel that doing anything worthwhile in life, right, or anything to make a stamp and make a make a statement on this earth also is never going to be easy, because you're really always flowing against the current. Yeah, everyone is moving in one direction, whereas you're moving in another, and not a lot of people understand it, because, like I said, when growing up, everyone will be like, okay, fine, you become doctor, you become lawyer, you become banker, okay, go work, eat food, come back, sleep, that's it. I mean, people only look at that and think, okay, fine, only this is life. People don't really feel that, okay, fine, there is more to life than that. Yeah. So for us, it's always been an upward climb. Yeah. It's never been easy. There's always something or the other coming along the way, which will either hamper our business in some way or another. Like I said, the first thing was Facebook. Then eventually, I remember we also put a stall in Joseph's. Yeah, in Joseph's Arts and Science. And they didn't want us to display our logo because they were like, no, it's too controversial. And I'm like, dude, it's just a leaf. It's literally our logo. Like, they can't do anything with our logo. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. But the teachers and all felt it was, the principal felt it was too controversial, and that police and all might come. And we're like, yeah, let them come. Let us talk to them. We don't mind. Like, we have no issues with talking to them and showing them and even giving them some free products to take home. Because if you're able to convince the police, and which we have done in other stalls, but at Joseph's, they just didn't want us to put anything up. So it's like when people came to our stall, we had to sit and explain everything from the start. Otherwise, our logo kind of just did everything for us. Like, our logo might get people over to us for the wrong reasons, but then when they leave, they have much more broader knowledge of what hemp and cannabis is in their minds. So I wouldn't say it's an easy journey. It's only in the past 2 years that we started doing better. We started doing really, really well for ourselves. We're still not broken even as such. Yeah, we are making enough, but we keep putting it back into our company. And I think in the next couple of months or so, also, we are having a big change in business model, because for me, at least as a person, we do very well on a physical level as such. We do well online also, but that's different. Like, I like interacting with people. I like speaking to people. And I feel that when you do speak to people face to face, right, the conversion rate is a lot more better. Like, whether it's a conversion rate in mentality, or whether it's a conversion rate into a customer. Either way, we win. That's how I look at it as. So uh, one of the main aims was to make sure that we can open a market for hemp in India. Open and because since no one was doing it at that point of time, no one was in the hemp industry at that point of time. For us, it became very important that more and more companies come out with regards to hemp. Yeah, no, we did want more and more companies to get into the hemp business, only because for us, right, we were really ambitious at one point of time, thinking, okay, you know what, we'll make shoes, we'll make shorts, we'll make shirts, we'll make everything what we can, we'll make from hemp. Yeah, but that's a very Herculean task. It's nearly impossible for any human who does not have an unlimited supply of money. Yeah, if you are very well off and you have just money to throw around, you can maybe do that, and even then also you will run out of money. And eventually we realized that, yeah, this is too much for us to take on by ourselves. And we started hoping, and we started talking to people also, and helping out whoever was looking to start a company. We were helping them out in any way we could, and we believed that information should be free, because all the information we got also was free. It's not like we paid for it. We did take hard work to find out about it, but in order to propagate the idea of hemp forward, it's better to give the information off for free, so that more people can come out with ideas, more people can see the market and decide for themselves whether they want to step into the industry. So that way, I feel like we're reaching our goal of getting India more aware about hemp. Okay, now the main goal is just to make sure that we can settle down by the age of 40 and, like, just chill, make sure everything is running around, say, make sure that if people need us to do policies and everything also, we wouldn't mind helping out in that way as well. So I would say it's been an upward journey, but anything worthwhile doing is going to take time. It's going to take blood, sweat, tears, you name it. It's going to be hard work. Anything worthwhile doing it. Otherwise, I could have taken the easy path.
You worked as an employee,
Sorry?
and at the same time, you worked as an employee, as in you done freelancing, you worked for someone else, and you've also been an entrepreneur. How would you compare entrepreneurship to employment?
So that's the thing, right? Like if you're a very free-spirited person, if you're a very open-minded person, and if you're a very vocal person, you don't tend to do very well in a corporate setting. Because people will, I mean, you can't always agree with people. Like there's there times where I've had like when I was working back in subtitling in one of the companies, we had the CEO come and tell us that, yeah, call me by my first name, like call me on a first name basis. Yeah, and then you had maybe a manager who was 4 or 5 rungs lower than him coming and telling you, you have to call me sir. And I'll be like, hey, go to hell, dude. I'm not calling you sir. Like, I'm not calling the CEO sir. He's telling us not to follow that culture. Like, why will I do that for you? Yeah. And so I used to have these really stupid philosophical clashes, if I would say that. Yeah. And I would say that honestly, working for myself is a lot better. Although it's a lot more harder. You work 24/7, 7 days a week. Okay. You might not get sleep half the time. It's a much more fulfilling dream than actually working in a company under someone and just doing the same straight path with blinders on. Like I can't do that. Like that doesn't suit me. Like even now also, if I have to join a corporate, I'm sure the maximum I would last is maybe about a year before these people will be like, this guy is too much for us to handle. He's way too vocal. He's way too open-minded, okay, and opinionated. So like the best place for me is the entrepreneurial world also. And I like I said, I like working for myself, be it content writing, be it art. Like I said, I do visual communications also at the side now. So for me, that it's like a passion combined with working. So I don't really get tired as such in that sense. Whereas if I have to do work for another company, one thing is that you have to follow all the guidelines, you have to listen to them, which is fair enough. But there is no room, like if somebody higher up than you thinks they're right, there is no room for negotiation. There is no room for even like opening up the topic a little bit and like opening up your mind a little bit and speaking about it. It's just like, no, I'm right. You just do what I say. That's it. And that's not what I'm okay with. Like I'm always up for an open discussion, be it hemp, be it anything in life. Like I think everything should be openly discussed without being judged in that. So definitely prefer the entrepreneurial environment.
Yeah, definitely. And a free-spirited person like you would do better in an entrepreneurial environment. And you have many years of experience as an entrepreneur. What kind of advice would you give for an upcoming entrepreneur?
So for an upcoming entrepreneur, if you're starting in India, I would say you need a lot of patience. Yeah, because one thing is that nothing happens on time over here. Yeah, like for example, if it's not even entrepreneurship, if it's just normal daily life, like if I have my subji guy saying he's coming at 1 o'clock, he is not going to come at 1 o'clock, and I've made my peace with that. The same way, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're doing business, and if you have to get something printed, yeah, if the if the guy says today it is not coming today, and you have to be okay with that. You have to be okay with things moving slower than what you're used to. And the only thing I would say is to not give up, because it does take time in a country like ours. Okay, we are a growing economy, yeah, and if you're doing something in a niche market, it's going to be a little more harder. But things over time, I mean, they say, right, like Rome wasn't built in a day. Yeah, it took a lot of time to build Rome. And the same way, if you're building a business, you can look at it the same way. You're trying to build an empire. You're trying to build something for your future generations also to go ahead with. But if you because for example, I'll give you, like, we had in the past 4 years, we've seen about maybe 50 to 60 cannabis companies pop up, like just boom, like it just exploded. But within a year, about like 20 to 25 of them shut down. And because they were looking at it as a very quick and easy, or they thought it was a very quick and easy means to get money. And in a place like India, it's not like it's going to take time, like I said, especially we are in a niche market. Okay, in a growing economy, in an underdeveloped country, it is going to take time. So people who go with the mindset that, yeah, I will put in 1 lakh today, I will make 2 lakhs tomorrow, it does not work like that. And do not expect it to work like that. But do expect to put in a lot of hard work and a lot of sleepless nights if you want your dream to come true. Because if you're not following your dream, then you're just being another zombie. I feel at the end of the day, just doing, just existing, And I feel that us as humans are a lot more than just existing. Like we have a lot more potential than just that. And again, that's one reason why I liked India, is because I realized that I'm not just a commerce student. I am much more than that. I'm an artist also. Okay, I'm a writer also. So we cannot do not think of anything in a one-dimensional way. You should not think of anything in a one-dimensional way, especially when it comes to entrepreneurship. So that's just my take, and not to give up. That's about it.
So you're a very artistic person. You said that you were a writer. What did you write?
So I do a lot of so I do poetry at the side. I am actually working on my comic book, and so I write short stories, I write poetry, I write alternate history, in a sense. Like what basically the comic book, the graphic novel I'm working on now, is based on like an alternate history of Earth. So, and I'm really into sci-fi. I'm really into something. Something not tangible over here. That's what I look at. Because I do enjoy the world we live in, but I also like things beyond this world. I would say that. And other than that, I also, as you can see, I read a lot. Like there's another 3 shelves on that side also. But drawing was one of my main passions as soon as I came to India, and writing just became a thing because I realized that, okay, fine, I love comics ever since I was a kid, and I realized that, okay, fine, I can start doing these things together and actually start writing my own stories. So right now my writing is just kind of put on hold because I do a lot of content work for B.E Hemp, and I do a content work for the other couple of sites also. So when you tend to do a lot of content work, what happens is that creativity dies down a bit, because then it just becomes work. It dies down a bit, and you're just like, I have to think of something to write today. Rather than I want to write. That's usually what happens. So right now it's put on a hold a little bit. I still write my comic books at the side, and I do a little bit of my drawing every week or so. And hopefully by the end of this year, I'll be finishing the first part of my comic book, which is supposed to be a 4-part series. So, yeah.
Okay, interesting. So you read a lot of fiction. Do you have any recommendation? Are there any writers or novels that you would strongly recommend?
Comics.
Not
Sorry. I didn't get that.
comics. Are there any novels? Are there any novels or writers or even comics that you would strongly recommend?
Oh yeah. So Neil Gaiman, I would suggest, and Sandman. Yeah. There is one of the comics which really blew my mind when I was a little kid, was called Spawn. Spawn. Yeah, and it's just about this anti-hero. Yeah, and at that point of time when you're a kid, you don't when you think of like a comic book, you think of like Superman and Batman and all these goody two shoes characters and stuff. And Spawn kind of showed me the complete opposite of that, and kind of opened my mind to, oh shit, okay, fine. So they can have more human characteristics to them rather than godlike characteristics, where instead of just being benevolent, yes, these people do get angry also at the same time. And you would see that's the kind of direction that DC and Marvel and everything is moving away from just benevolent superheroes into more human type of superheroes at this point. So Spawn is one of them. I have another couple of comic books over here, like which I keep forgetting also about because all of this is all old, done and dusted. I have to get back to them and reread them as such. But my main recommendation for what I've read earlier was Sandman itself. I'd put it off for the longest time, Neil Gaiman's Sandman, only because I was just like, I don't like the artwork as much, and that I was a very picky guy when I was a kid. So at that point of time, I was like, I'm not reading that, and it's only last year that I actually read Sandman. I was like, wow, how did I miss this? So that's the thing.
So, are you trying to pursue publishing? Do you have any plans of publishing this comic book? And do you think it will be easy, the whole process of publishing in India?
As usual, I'm going to say it's not going to be easy. But I do have a plan of publishing it. It's just that at the moment, I'm trying to find also an artist who can bring the rest three of my comic books to life. Because the first comic book, I don't mind illustrating and writing and drawing everything myself. Yeah, I mean, it's supposed to be a very simple introduction, like a prologue to the other three comics. Yeah, it doesn't really have to do anything with the other three comics. I mean, it has a very minute role in the other three comics. It's just kind of setting up the base for those three. So I'm trying to find a good artist who can actually bring my vision to life in the rest of the comics, and that will take some time. The first book, I'm not looking to get it published this year, but by next year, 100%. By this year, I want to finish it and perfect it at least. Because that's one problem I have also. Like if I have to do something, then I have to sit and get it perfect. Otherwise, I'll also lose my mind. Like, and I start getting irritated. It's just a very stupid OCD I have. But for example, our soaps, these boxes and everything that came out over here, like I wasn't happy with the packaging the first couple of times when we did it, and I'd sent it back, and even 2-3 months went by, we didn't get business also for it. I was like, I don't care. We have to make sure that this goes out properly. Like if you're doing the packaging, everything has to be perfect. Like there can't be any mistake. So the same way I look at doing my comic books also, and I know that it might take some time, but I know that when it comes out, it'll be like exactly how I want it to be, and I'm not going to be unhappy then.
Okay, interesting. So you do a bunch of things. You do freelancing, you do writing, you are an entrepreneur. So what does the future hold for Elston?
Oh man, I think there's a lot. It's just that right now the future holds a lot me with regards to B.E Hemp, because right now we're actually looking at so my partner's also looking to move out of B.E Hemp. So whatever skills I've developed over these years, okay, and it's through B.E Hemp that I've developed a lot of these skills, because like I said, when you're bootstrapping, you tend to learn everything. Yeah, whether it's accounting, whether it's graphic design, whether it's writing, whatever. You tend to develop all these skills by yourself, okay, and or with tandem with someone else. And right now, since my partners are moving out, this is going to be a little bit of a challenge for me to do, but I feel that it's going to go crazy, and I'm looking forward to opening a store by next year in Bangalore. It's like a proper hemp store in Bangalore. And our whole idea of hemp is not keeping cannabis separate, not keeping hemp separate, no such thing. In India, it's the same plant in India, at least. So the same way we want to integrate that into our store. Because if you look at the other hemp brands, people kind of just concentrate on only soaps, or they concentrate on only like what do you say, hemp hearts or hemp food, and no one wants to touch the recreational part of it. Everyone wants to keep away from it. But it's part of the plant. You can't just nitpick and choose what you think is best and be like, okay, that's it. So we believe that it's better to be all inclusive. You don't want to hamper your market also that way. And like half the people buying our rolling papers come back to us and buy like our other products also as well. And that's what works out for us. And which is why I am also looking at getting a physical store by next year at the latest. like nice tiny little store in Indiranagar or Kurumanga. Like that is the thing. And then eventually franchisees in India and then all over the world. But that's still a while away.
It's a very good plan. I'm looking forward to walking into one of your stores in the future very soon. Thank you so much, Elston, for being on the Labyrinth. This was a very, what can I say? This was a very informative conversation.
Yeah, you can always let me know if you're looking at any other future conversations regarding hemp, or if you'd like to speak to other people also regarding hemp, get their perspectives also on it. Because this is only my perspective on it. I'm giving you my life. It's everyone is different, and they might have gone through another journey altogether. And it's a little funny because last night also we'd met up, like the hemp companies in Bangalore met up as such, just to talk to each other, because we've never actually met up and hung out in one place. We've always just spoke to each other on phones and stuff. So if you are looking at getting other people on board and stuff like that, you let me know, like if you're looking for other people's perspectives in that sense. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, sure. I would like to meet all of them. And once again, this is a very interesting conversation. Thank you for all the information that you've given to me in the past 1 hour.